Yeah, hello everybody. So I'm talking about augmented reality, and I'm a development architect at SAP. I work in a department where we are half developers and half designers, and we do a lot of new stuff. So SAP has about 90,000 people, and we are a small department which focuses on new stuff, new ventures and stuff like that. And we also check out new technologies and see how we can use them. So for example, what we did last year was SAP Inscribe, which is a chatbot which you can control with your handwriting. And you can, for example, add columns, remove columns, all by writing it down, and it's getting recognized by machine learning. Even the sound works. Yes, and you can drill down and do stuff like that. So that's what I did last year. The year before that, we were working a lot on data visualization. So at SAP, we have a lot of data, and we wanted to visualize that. And initially, we did all of that using a computer screen. But unless you are not a gamer who grew up with playing Fortnite all day long and all night long, it's really hard for most people, especially older business people, to navigate with a VA or the WASD keys. And therefore we found out that augmented reality is a way more natural way of interacting with the system, because you can just go around your data and you don't need to learn how to go around. So there's basically the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality. In augmented reality, you basically augment and enhance your existing world, but you can still see the world. In virtual reality, on the other side, you're completely in your own world, and you don't normally see anything from the real world, except if you have a video camera. But normally you are in your own world. And augmented reality in the past was most of the time based on markers. So you had some marker, like a QR code or anything else, which was identifiable by your mobile phone. And which then knew, okay, so based on this position, and the processor could also determine how this code or this marker was rotated. In reality, it could also move that then. The problem with marker-based augmented reality is that you always need to see the marker, and as soon as your video camera doesn't see the marker anymore, it's gone. And it first has to reset the world. ARKit, on the other side, is way more advanced. So what ARKit does is it looks into the room and looks for pixels which are different to the nearby pixels, so pixels with a really high contrast. And it stores then these pixels as marker pixels, and it selects a few pixels, and then based on the movement in the video feed, it can then determine how the camera moves relatively to the room. So it knows where the camera is in the room. And on top of that, it also uses a compass, because it's pretty hard to actually determine these kinds of movements, and it also uses the accelerometer or the gyroscope to determine whether you're looking up and down and stuff like that. So now it's time for coding. So what I have here is I brought my. Why is it so dark? Oh, okay, works. Yeah. So what I have here is a small project which will just initiate a view controller And inside this view controller, I create a new scene kit scene. So in iOS development, you have Sprite Kit for 2D development and Scene Kit for 3D development. And then I also set up some stuff like a physics world, a delegate, and I enable default lighting, because normally there is no lighting enabled at all. And if I now run this app, I should see you. Yes, so amazing, huh? Okay, and what I want to do now is, so that's not really interesting. So I've created here, this function will be called when I touch the screen, and once I touch the screen, I want to create a new node. So in Scene Kit, everything is stored as a node, and so a node is the smallest entity you can have in a Scene Kit scene. And let's make this a net. And then I'm going to create a box, and that is going to be a Scene Kit box. And this box has a width of 0.1. It has a height of 0.1. It has a length of 2, and a chamfer radius of 0. And then I'm going to this box and I'm setting the first material, the diffuse color, and I'm setting this to red. And then I will also box first material. I will set the lightning mode to constant because that's easy. And now I will set the geometry. So each Scene Kit node has a geometry. I will set this to the box. Deprecated. Yes, because I do that. Okay, and I will also set an opacity of 0.5. And then the camera has a point of view, so I can get the 3D coordinates of the camera. So from the scene view, I just get the point of view, and that's the camera point of view. And I will just set the position of my newly created node to the point of view of the position. I will then lower it by 0.3, the y coordinate. You will see it in a minute why I do that. And who knows what an Euler angle is? Yeah, it's mass. So when I started augmented reality, I figured that there is a lot of math to do. You have vector calculations and stuff like that. But we don't care about that now. I will just set the Euler angle from the point of view. And then I will add this child, scene. So each scene has a root node, and I will add this node. I will add that. Okay, and if I now execute that, my build is failing because I did a typo. But if I now execute this again. Yeah, I can see you again, and I now tap the screen. You can see that we have here a box in the room, and I can then move around this box, and it stays precisely in this room. So, but that's not really interesting. But what I want to do now is I want to give this this node also some physics, and I want to animate this. So I won't type all of this code because it's quite a lot. But what this will do is it will create a physics body. It will set that it's not affected by gravity. It will set category bit mask. So you can have multiple elements and you can assign a bit mask to each element, and this will then determine which object can interact with each other object. So I can assign a bit mask for contact, and I also can assign a bit mask for collision. And if I now execute this code, and hit the screen again. Can you see that? So there's a laser flying. Yeah, who wants to catch it? Yes, but I mean that's already cool. But what I want to do now is I've already prepared some assets, and I want to play a laser firing sound. So let's do that. Because without sound, it's all not that cool. So let's try that. The problem now is if you see closely on the screen, you can see that the lasers are still in the room, but they are far behind. So what I want to do now is dispatch. So I'm using the dispatch queue. So I think after I'm having some So normally I have an English keyboard because I was in the States for 2 years, and I found out that the English keyboard is way better than the German keyboard. And now I came back, and now I have a German keyboard again, and I can't really work with that. Yes. So after 1 second, what I want to do then is I want to remove the laser node that I've created from the parent node. So and if I execute this again, oops. .no, yes. It was no. Yes, now it should work. So, if I now fire the laser, you see that it works, and then after 1 second it disappears. So, That's already great, but what I want to do now is, now once the viewer did load, now I also want to add a new TIE fighter, because what's a game without a TIE fighter? So I've prepared that. So we have loaded the TIE fighter. Then I randomly choose an X and Y position, and I also position the TIE fighter 10 meter away. And the funny thing is, let's first show it like that. So now we have a TIE fighter over there by you. If I now say affected by gravity, it's a really funny effect. You have to watch fast because it happens really fast, because the gravity is normal gravity. So now the TIE fighter appears and drops down into... Yes, but we also want to have some fun with the TIE fighter. So what I will do then is I will animate the fighter. And with animation, I copy the initial position of the TIE fighter, and I then say, okay, so initially the TIE fighter is 10 meter away, but I'll say, okay, so now fly 1 meter away from me. And I will use an ease in, ease out, so that it flies slowly. And then I will run a scene kit action. So if I do that, yes, so as you've seen, or not, so let me start it again. The TIE fighter starts 10 meters away, and then it flies up to 1 meter in front of me. That's all fun, but it's not really fun. So what I want to do now is I have this physics callback, and I say, okay, so when one of the nodes is a fighter and the other is a laser, then I want something to happen. So this will get me 2 nodes, so node A and node B. And what I want to do is, so currently if I fire the laser, oops, that shouldn't happen. No. Yeah, I think ARKit has some. It tries to. That shouldn't. I've never seen that, but it's interesting. But what I want to do now is I want to say, okay, so once those 2 objects meet, I want to remove both of them, so they don't exist anymore. So if I do that, build succeeded. Yes, so the TIE fighter comes now in, boom, and I fire, and it disappears. I mean, yeah, it's kind of fun, but we can do better. So what I want to do now is I want to add some sound effect. I want to play an explosion sound effect, because there should be a boom. I mean, even if it's space, we know that normally you don't hear anything in space, but and I also want to create an explosion at the point where it happens, so where one object hits the other object. So if I now run it again, Okay, so now we have the TIE Fighter. Yeah, and it's gone. And that was a game. But, I mean, it's not really interesting because you just have one shot. What I want to do again is I take again the dispatch queue, main, async after deadline. So the deadline is stopped now. Again, oh shit. There's one. And now, so after both of them hit each other and they've exploded and it's played its cool sound effect and the explosion effect, I want to create a new fighter so that you can continue having fun. So let's see what happens. So we have a TIE Fighter. Yes. The problem with augmented reality now is that it doesn't really know what's in front of it or not. So if for example I have here the TIE Fighter and the TIE Fighter is 1 meter away, if I now put my hand in front of it, actually my hand should occlude the 3D object. Currently it does not. And the reason for that is that the camera in the back doesn't know how far away my camera is. Google has already solved this issue a few years ago with some depth sensing stuff, and I really had high hopes for the new iPhone that they actually built the Face ID sensor, because that's a depth sensor also in the back of the camera, because that would then solve all of the issues you currently have, or a lot of issues you currently have with augmented reality. I'm really eager to wait for the iPhone 11 or whatever it is being called then, because then I can order a new phone and I have a business reason for my manager. So what if you actually look at all the technologies that are out there, you actually see that augmented reality is already there currently, but it's not perfect, because even if you hold your iPhone in front of you, you do that for 5 minutes, and then you get a really heavy arm, and it's just not fun to do that. We already see that there are some vendors out there who will do something about that, also with object detection and stuff like that, and indoor positioning. But I'm actually waiting for that. I mean, I don't know if it looks like that. That's just a mock-up I found on the internet. But I think once you actually have that, augmented reality has a really bright future, because then it's something you have always with you, and you can actually replace a lot of monitors you currently have on devices with virtual 3D objects. And I also think that augmented reality will go to the web. So in the last keynote, they have shown USDZ, which is a file format from Pixar, which was really cool. But currently it's just for static elements, and I actually think that WebXR, which is currently which was introduced by Google, Mozilla. WebXR is currently just supported by Chrome and Internet Explorer, but not by Safari. And I think it's just the time of when this will happen, and it will be integrated on your iPhone. Because I think there are reasons for when you want to have a native application, and there are reasons when you want to have a web application with augmented reality in it. So, if you want to play around with a game, I have everything on GitHub. So it's GitHub C Grail, so Christian Grail /R Wars. So yeah, there's no ST in it. Okay, and you can follow me on Twitter and also ask me questions on Twitter if you like.
Thank you. That was a very good talk for like a slow afternoon. I think there's only one question right now. Can you make the TIE fighter fly out from behind a real world object?
Can you make TIE fighter fly out from... Yeah, so that's one of the limitations you have currently. So currently, the iPhone doesn't know how far a real object is from you, and where a real object is, and when it should occlude and when it shouldn't occlude. So I think once Apple also puts this depth sensor in the back, then that will work.
Okay, thank you, Christian. No other questions. Christian will be heading off already because I think he has a flight to catch tonight. So if you have any further questions for him, I think you can find him over on Twitter or in the Slack channel. Thank you.